Follow that bouncing front end. I've been fighting traction issues like never before with the van this year, and my first thought was that these small 275/60 radials just were not cutting it. So, even though it knocked me out of a whole lot of classes at a whole lot of races, I decided to go back to the 295/65s that always worked before. But even with my quote-unquote big tires, I still ended up having the same issues, and I knew it was time for front shocks. I've been trying to get double adjustable Vikings for a couple of years, but I had to settle on these Monroes because it's all I could afford. I am determined to make a clean pass at KD this year for Cash Days at the Hill. And when I'm racing at KD, the first thing we do is remove this chin spoiler. KD is an 8th mile track in South Webster, Ohio, that the shutoff looks like a semi-truck runoff off the highway. Now, if you've been watching for any length of time, you know that I hate time-lapse segments in YouTube videos. So, I try to make this first 3 minutes as painless as possible. Half of you guys are probably watching at 2 times speed already anyways. With only one clear evening in the weather forecast for this week, I was determined to get these shocks in, the oil changed, and get this thing tested before we load up and head to KD on Friday morning. Amazingly, everything unbolted, nothing stripped, and I was able to get these 30-year-old generic shocks out without much incident. My ability to compress this by hand confirmed my suspicions. And compressing both shocks next to each other and watching how they rebounded really made me confident that this was going to make a big change in the van. It seems kind of dirty. That white shock may still be compressed in my garbage can. I don't know. I will say, if you're installing these shocks by yourself, a bottle jack would be a wonderful addition. Unfortunately, I don't have one. So, now that I have the shocks that everyone on the internet would tell me wouldn't work, I decided to change the oil with the oil that everyone on the internet would probably tell me I shouldn't do. I've always run conventional oil in this engine, not synthetic. I've never had a problem with it, and just for some reason, I trust it more. Pro tip if you have hood pins without cables, when you take them off, put them on your driver's seat. Thanks for sticking it out for 3 minutes. It's time to test. Another fight that I have against internet wisdom is whether or not to use prep. I never have good results when I use prep, especially if I'm testing by myself. So I told Dustin we're just using water. It seems like the word's getting out on this test spot because this hatchback Honda came out on a rollback to test. So no prep, no two-step, just matting. The front end came up and it stayed there. The van is back. Now Louis came out testing his Challenger and he was using prep. And I decided, since I wasn't sure if this event was going to be water or prep, might as well test in the prep lane and see what happens. I told Dustin just enough to get the tires spinning. Now that was a pretty hot burnout in a lane that already had some prep down. We taking bets on how this one works out? So yeah, I was kind of pissed, but at the same time, vindicated, because I always say, I just want to do a water burnout, if a water burnout at all. And everyone tells me, no, you gotta run prep, you gotta have prep, you're breaking the tires loose because you don't have prep. Well, I just proved that the same exact situations, it spins on prep. But I was not ending my night that way. I was gonna come back, I was gonna dry hop it, and I was gonna mat it again to prove my point. Just a boomer dry hop. We taking bets on how this one works out?